that work is beneath us because we have this vision. Baby, we all got good vision, but sometimes, honey, you're going to have to go and get a little job for a little while so you got a little money coming in so you can pay your own bills while you still pursuing your dream and your passion.
Yo, it's your boy, the Black Anglo-Saxon, your favorite neighborhood political scientist. Today, we're going to be getting back at it. Thank y'all for being patient. I appreciate it. We're going to be talking about Tabitha Brown and some of the comments she made, and we're going to be going into what people put into their kids, what people put into the youth, what people put into other people, into the society. Because a lot of these paradigm shifts, cultural shifts, however you want to frame it, has taken place as a result of the things people have been given. So hit the like button, hit the share button. I thank you, appreciate you. Today is going to be Tabitha Brown. I'm going to go through a clip real quick as an example as to what I mean about what we put into people, because she says some things about, people working while they are pursuing business endeavors. So 9 to 5 transitioning into quote unquote being a entrepreneur, right? And that word has been redefined very, very heavily, especially in the 21st century, post-gig economy. So I just want to go ahead, we're going to jump into it without further ado. So here's the video of Tabitha Brown going in, telling nothing but the truth. I'm gonna just go ahead and play this.
Honey, y'all all right? So let's.
I'm gonna just go ahead and show this, let y'all hear this real quick. She ain't telling nothing but the truth, God's truth. Here we go.
Last night I did a video on entrepreneurs, okay? And the word was, honey, it's time to get a little job, okay? Because you ain't got no income coming in. And some folks got upset about that. But let's talk about it, all right? First and foremost, I ain't never gonna tell somebody to give up on their dreams. For the last 8 years, I have publicly shared my journey that I worked while I waited, right? You can have a dream, you can have a goal, you can have a vision that God has given you, and you can still have a job while pursuing it. Do you understand? See, I'm talking to the people who burnt all their bridges up. Baby, you have burnt all your bridges because you refused to get a little side hustle or a job to have income coming in while pursuing your passion and your dream. I'm not talking about the people who are trying to get jobs. I'm not talking about the people who you do have a little, job and things are still hard. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people who are just like, I ain't finna get no job. I'm going to just ask such and such for the money, or I'm going to do this and
Before she get done, I just don't understand the issue that people have within what she is saying, especially when it comes to the current economy and how things are transpiring with tariffs, with people being fired due to quote unquote recession, which we can really call a depression at this point, if you ask me, just based on the magnitude and how we're going to go into a much, much, much more uncharted territory when it comes to what this economy is going to shape up and look like. So I'm just kind of baffled because I heard a few responses, some of them about the Uber thing, which is what made me think about the gig economy. But I just don't really understand how people find reason to be in disagreement with this position, especially considering the fact that she's talking about a situation where if you are not being emotional or not being triggered because you may be in this particular situation, um, you should.
I'm talking to the people who ain't trying. They know who they are, and you know who they are, okay? We can still pursue our passion and our dreams while
Yeah.
working a temporary job that will help us get there. But what we shouldn't do is hurt our family, our friends, We shouldn't burn all our bridges in relationships because we believe so wholeheartedly that
And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5, even if you aren't necessarily even trying to transition into becoming an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship in its current form is a lot of hustling, which we'll get into. But the 9 to 5 gig is not really as bad as people make it seem. I know people feel like you have way more flexibility when it comes to being an entrepreneur, but you really don't. It's really about picking your poison in terms of what you want to get back in terms of your output versus how you're actually going to engage in the whole ecosystem. Because really, you could come up as a 9 to 5 worker, especially if you got a high salary, you know how to manage your money, and you got good relationships.
that work is beneath us because we have this vision. Baby, we all got good vision, but sometimes, honey, you're gonna have to go and get a little job for a little while so you got a little money coming in so you can pay your own bills while you're still pursuing your dream and your passion. Nothing is wrong with a job, especially if you know without the shadow of a doubt that your vision, your dream, God gave it to you and you see it so clear. If you know that, baby, then you know that a job is temporary. I'm just doing this right now, honey, because I hit. It's going to hit. Work while you wait on it to hit. Work while you pursue that thing. Stop burning them bridges. Stop thinking that a little job is beneath you. It's not. We can all work while we wait. I pursue my dreams. I still pursue them. Okay, I'm still pursuing. But for over 25 years, right? I pursued my dreams while working jobs that had nothing to do with my dreams. Call centers, staffing agencies, temporary employment, nursing homes. I was a caregiver. Um, I worked in retail, Macy's, contract manufacturing, shipping, UPS, um, fast food. I did court call. I did so many odd jobs because I had responsibilities. Children. I had a husband who is my partner, right? How dare I leave him out to dry, right? I got this dream. I got it. I see it. It's clear, babe. That's what I would tell him. But I also went to work, honey. And I would work jobs for a little while and quit. But I would make sure that I had money to help pay them bills, right? I won't never out here just not having no money coming in because I had this dream. I still always kept a little job or a little side hustle to make sure I could pay my bills while pursuing my passion. Baby, now I would be at work, okay, talking about, oh, I got to go to this doctor's appointment and go to an audition. Now, I done told them many a lies. That was part of my hustle, but I still showed up to work. I still went on back and clocked on in, okay? You
Yeah.
name it, Tab and about did it. While I pursued acting, while I pursued entertainment, baby drove Uber. Thank God I did, because I did a video while sitting in my car from driving Uber that went viral and changed my life. Sometimes you getting a job is the door that the Lord is waiting to open for you to get to your dream. So don't think that a job is beneath you. It's not. It may just be part of your journey.
And it's so crazy. And it's so crazy you can find any issue with this at all. Like, I really don't get it. But, you know, the reason why I wanted to have and do this video is because I saw the responses. And I don't know who's seen this movie with Denzel Washington called The Highest Lows. There's a part in the movie towards the end where Denzel Washington is having a conversation with what's his name? ASAP Rocky. And ASAP Rocky is in prison, and Denzel Washington is this mogul-esque type character, similar to a Jay-Z, Puffy, or think of any of those basically black execs during that time and era, where we see those moguls come out, Russell Simmons, etc. And they're having this conversation, and ASAP Rocky's character is going to be a person who is pursuing his rap career, but has caught yet another felony, hence the song Trunks and the lyrics and how they go. But he gets a visit from Denzel Washington, and he's telling him, it was his dream to work with him, connect with him after robbing him and doing all of these things, and that he put it into him. The violence, the carnage, the capacity to want to have this insatiable appetite for money, drive, etc., fame, success, quote unquote, however you want to define it. And Denzel Washington says, all money ain't good money. And he's basically past that. He's off that. And so Denzel Washington has transitioned into this zenith of ideological state where he is beyond making money for money's sake, right? But ASAP Rocky crashes out, and basically because he is pushed away or rejected by Denzel as he is professing his love, his desire, his admiration to a character that put all in him the violence. And so let's start with the Tabitha Brown portion, right? We having this conversation about her getting backlash from trying to have a conversation about tell people to work a 9 to 5. And this is important because it has created a culture that has fueled not only a massive debt crisis, it has not only fueled a transition from trades, it has created this ecosystem where you have industries like attorney and law being oversaturated, right? Because my generation, millennials, I'm 30, I just turned 35. We were taught and trained to not want to be the quote unquote janitor, trash man, the construction worker. All of those things were looked down upon. And please don't do the individual perspectives and critiques where people say, well, not me. I'm talking about culturally as a society. We have created this space where white collar is the thing to aspire to, and everything behind it is not only desirable, but in a lot of ways disrespected, right? And so we get this conundrum where we're faced with generations of actual youth who are now not being able to find work, now trying to pair bond based off of access, power, and resources when those resources might not necessarily be available as talked about by Tabitha Brown because of the current ecosystem and what it takes to actually build in this environment and economy, right? And so hold that, because while we're having that discussion, we're also having to acknowledge the piece about the gig economy and how everything was recreated and reframed through classic entrepreneurship. So classic entrepreneurship was and has been basically created to attach itself to ecosystems, right? And what do I mean? So in classic entrepreneurship, people think about, let's say some familiar names, the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts, when we talk about the train systems, when we talk about, heck, even if we take the rappers, let's say the food health industry, when we talk about farming, et cetera, right? Being an entrepreneur in those industries allowed you access to human capital, business to business transactions, as well as a ecosystem that allowed you to entrench yourself and create a whole full business model, not just hustling where we're selling a product or we're repurposing a product from like Shein or one of these other brands or other companies that will take a product, mass produce it, and you get to sell it consumer to consumer the way that you do. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't make your money or that you shouldn't fit in where you get in where you fit in, but at the same time, I want us to be very careful about how we're looking at and defining entrepreneurship, because the girl who clapped back against Tabitha Brown was like, well, you worked Uber. That's an entrepreneur, baby. You was on a 1099, blah, 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 blah. And the problem with that thinking and the problem with that mode and that lens is that you have to realize that the 1099 is not the contract work that you're thinking about. You're talking about working for a Uber or a dog walking app or what else do they have? The DoorDashes of the world, where there is no real company in terms of interfacing, providing customer service or customer to employee service or any of these things. You're doing everything through an app. You're doing everything through an app. And that is not entrepreneurship in the way that we think it is. Even take me, for example, right? I'm here on YouTube. I'm talking right now. Google technically is my employer. But through that 1099, these people have been able to circumvent the capacity to have to pay health insurance, right? All of these different things, all of these things that they should be doing. And so the exploitation within the gig economy, it stems primarily from the misclassification of workers as independent contractors, which allows platforms to avoid providing the benefits like minimum wage, overtime pay, workers' comp. And this structure is a lot of these structures are combined with algorithms. So I always make the joke, the almighty algorithm, because it's becoming the new God. And it has the impact to, or the capacity to impact your wages through these algorithms, right? Which is different from product to consumer, product to consumer. It's algorithm. It is surge pricing. It is all of these different factors that are controlled by, what do you call it? Algorithms. So, and this creates, precarious situations in unemployment. And so it shifts the business risk onto workers, leading to low, unsustainable incomes, which is a lack of benefits, the constant surveillance, and heightened vulnerability for workers, especially those from marginalized groups. And what people got to come to admit, especially Black people. And again, this is compounded on a conversation where we're seeing mass layoffs, where we're seeing government weaponization in the economy right now. We're seeing tariffs, we're seeing the dollar being weaponized, and we're seeing all of these different things take place. And people need to factor that in, right? And so, these people exploit legal loopholes, paying for crucial benefits, labor protections and all of these different things. And so it's not the same thing. So you're also trying to avoid a predatory system. And I know people are going to say, capitalism as a whole is predatory and the whole corporate structure is predatory. But I promise you that the corporate structure and entity is not as predatory as these new tech conglomerates that are coming in to take advantage and redefine what the 1099 and contract work is. It's not providing a product and a service in the way of the past. You are not I don't know what you call them, but the people who go in for the elevators and fix the elevators for the building or build the elevators, or you're not the journeyman who comes onto a construction project. It's not structured like that. And we need to be highly, highly vigilant when we begin to have all of these things be redefined. And that's my issue with a lot of language now and all of this euphemistic language that people use and these qualifiers that people put on these words to make themselves feel better. Because again, I'm not here to trash anybody. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad. We all have to survive in these systems, unfortunately. But being honest about what it is you're doing and being honest about how it is you're approaching these ecosystems is part of the solution. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're not. No, you're not. We're not entrepreneurs like the people and the elders of the past. It's not the same thing. We've not been given the same structures. A lot of these things are shifting, which is why a lot of these markets are struggling to keep up. A lot of these industries are struggling to keep up because the market shifts and the way that their labor is being used and engaged with is completely different. Completely different. Completely different. And so you're having to work 2, 3, 4, and 5 jobs with the different labor structure because of the algorithm. Because you might not necessarily be getting the hours that you need because of the algorithm. And the algorithm is unfortunately programmed by people who we don't even know. And then you got the dehumanization piece where we talk about the data collection, because the data collection is a whole other component of it, because the corporations are making money off of the data collection piece. And so when Tabitha Brown is telling people to work your job while you're actually striving to get to where you're going, I don't understand why that's a slight. But it's because what we have been poured into, the way we have been poured into. Because everybody has been told to be a boss, be a boss, be a boss, be a boss. But never really have people been told what it takes to be a boss, the truth of what it takes to be a boss. And a lot of bosses don't really know what it takes to be a boss in this current era, in this current ecosystem. They don't know what it takes to navigate currently. Because right now is a whole different ballgame. So, yeah, it's a lot of different things that have taken place. So you got the instant gratification that has been poured into people. And so people are asking like, oh, why is everybody selfish? Why does everybody do this particular thing this way? Or why is it overly transactional? Because that's what's been poured into us. That's what's been poured into us as kids. That's what we've been told to, oh, you got to get what you got to get, or you got to use what you got to use, without having the context ever explain that you have to do these things in a particular manner and in a particular way so that they don't have negative outcomes and impacts on a whole society. Because you deserve it now, or you need it now. And the business models have been created to weaponize all of those things against us. So even when we talk about like the hype of individualism masquerading as self-expression, it's a lot of different things that we do and we think it's cool. We talk about narcissism. We talk about all of these different things. And we wonder, oh, why do kids act this way? Why do youth act this way? Or why even my generation? Why are we this way? Because unfortunately, all of these behavioral traits and culture traits have been poured into us. People want to talk about, even for what it was worth, the violence that continues to persist within our nation in terms of the gun violence, whether you're talking about school shootings or whether you want to talk about in the hood. It comes top down because America has been a violent nation. All of those things have been poured into us. Because when you talk about, even when we go to take it away from the household and we go to the media and the society and the culture and the things that feed and the things that can continue to be perpetuated, and they continue to be perpetuated because they continue to be bought, so people continue to sell it, it reinforces itself. We love the thug movies. We love the highs, lows type of movies where we can sit around and glorify the moguls who make it being cutthroat, because cutthroat is this glorified process and this glorified character trait and this glorified quality in America. And it might not be you, but to reach certain levels and to reach certain pinnacles and to have certain levels of access, you have to be seen as cutthroat, or otherwise you are not qualified. Because why? They don't deem it acceptable to not be. And so, like, we got to talk about it honestly, because the backlash was expected. What do y'all think after you tell people for so long that, oh, all you could be a boss, be a boss, be a boss. The only thing to do is be a boss. If you nothing else than a boss, you nothing. That's how you get people like Dame Dash walking around telling people you ain't nothing unless you a boss. Because that's the type of ideology that was coming out of people. And we're not going to sit here and act like that wasn't the case. You know what I'm saying? Like, clout equaling value, clout being everything. You don't even have to like, people don't even have to like people no more. But as long as they feel like they can get clout from a person, they willing to do whatever it is that they have to do. So let's take a recent example. You got the Diddy situation, right? All of these people around him, all of these people in the know, access. Didn't everybody act like they don't know what happened as a result of what went down, right? But y'all was all getting the clout when it was cool. Everybody be ready to ride. Everybody be down when it's cool. Even if you take this, for example, this Kamala book, right? She talking about how Biden went on her, how Biden did all of this. Where were you saying that when you was still trying to get power from it, though? That's the problem. Because you was still trying to get the clout, because the clout was the value. And you had to do it by any means necessary. But now you want us to feel bad and feel in tandem with you after you've already tried to come up on a situation and you weren't necessarily able to do so as a result. So now we've commodified all of these different things, the monetization of it. I'm right here talking to y'all right now. And we have a situation where people are trying to have conversations with people, rightfully, logically so, but it can't work because those are the same people, and not Tabitha Brown specifically, but people within her generation in the past have poured into the youth and the people up under her who she's trying to guide. Nonsense, foolery, with no logic, no nothing to back it except pure emotion. So it's hard pressed to even try to have a conversation. And because clout is the only thing that matter, and not only clout, but clout and agreement, because you gotta agree, because we a society of narcissists. So I can't tell you that you're wrong. I gotta have clout and agree with you. Then it's a thing. Because for what it's worth, again, I don't have anything against entertainers, but right now, we live in a society where the entertainers are being influential in the political realm, and I'm talking specifically for Black people, and it's atrocious. And I have nothing against them. But why do we continue to put up entertainers against political figures when there is no match? You got a Joe Biden or Ben Shapiro going on the Breakfast Club. And again, for what it's worth, Charlamagne can do as he please. That's his lane. But Charlamagne can't go toe-to-toe with Ben Shapiro. Because for what it's worth, I think Ben Shapiro is ignorant, but at the same time, I believe Ben Shapiro definitely knows more than Charlamagne when it comes to politics, even though I feel like Ben Shapiro is being duplicitous and intellectually dishonest when he talks about the things that he talk about. It's why they continue to run circles around us. Because I'm going to talk about that in my video about Charlie Kirk, how the quote-unquote ill-mannered racist people understand better that they need to create, fund, and facilitate and put out people who can even if they don't necessarily believe in what they're saying, say what they say, perpetuate and reinforce. Because the reinforcement of the culture, that's what we don't have. Yeah, we got culture in the sense that we have a piece of not just American culture, but we are influential. But when we talk about America and at its core, that violence, that rapaciousness, all of these different characteristics that breed the narcissism and the selfishness and the rugged individualism, those are all perpetuated by the legacy, the founders. All of that stuff is poured into generations after generations after generations after generations, and it's why you can't tell nobody nothing or have a conversation. Because now everything has also been blown up, so people now can feel how they want to feel, and nobody even chooses to think. They're more concerned with how what Tabitha Brown is saying makes them feel versus what she's saying logically as it relates to the context of the actual moment in time that she's saying it. And that is the most important part. So it's like, we are damn if we do, damn if we don't. We're in a pickle. But it's all because what people and how people have been poured into. And look, I'm not the perfect person. Cause I'll give you one that I have partaken in and that I'm really trying to move away from. And that is consumerism as an identity, right? And what do I mean by that? I have my own identity. I love who I am, but I love to buy stuff. I love to buy shit. I like stuff. And there's certain brands that have a tendency to align with your aesthetic or with your lifestyle, etc., right? And people get into, myself included, a habit, culturally American, to consume insatiably. Because part of being American is consuming. Which is why we shouldn't confuse power of consumption with power. Because everybody in America consumes because it's capitalism. It's all about what you choose to consume. But what do I know? Like I always say, y'all can tell me what y'all think. Leave a comment. Please share, like the video. Thank you, please. And what y'all think? Was Tabitha Brown off or was she spot on and the society is off? And how do you think we got here? Because a lot of people don't like to talk about that, but I think talking about how you get to a specific point allows you to retrace your steps and see where we went wrong. Because it's easy to try to throw stuff at the wall, but I don't really think that that's effective because that's what we've been trying. But what do I know? Thank you.